My name's Harmon Zuckerman, and I work for the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, Director of the Regional Plan Update. And I want to also recognize everybody who's spoken today. It's been really interesting to listen to them. And one of the things that Richard brought up in the last piece, thank you, was the idea of thought leadership. And I'm going to touch on that. I'm going to touch on some of the other issues that we've heard talked about today. So first, I also want to thank the Tahoe Sustainability Congress for inviting me to speak here today. TRPA hired me to renew its regional plan. The document will serve as the sustainability blueprint for the basin. It will help to address the environmental degradation of the past and guide us as we move forward in a way that balances human needs with the natural setting. The regional plan update is the way we intend to implement our role in the process of making Tahoe a more sustainable environment and economy. We're working on forest management policies, land use policies, and so forth that will help us restore the basin to a better functioning ecosystem. We're looking for ways to make Tahoe's communities more fire safe while also improving water quality, lake clarity, and walkability. The Lake Tahoe Regional Plan Update will be ready by early 2012, but we're looking for supporters, people who wish to get involved now. You can find information about how to get involved on the TRPA website, which is www.trpa.org, or you can contact me directly. But mostly what I came here to talk today about is inspiration. After all, inspiration may be like Tahoe's most marketable quality. And yet, the process of planning for Tahoe's future is often as far from inspiring as can be. Why is this? It could be lots of reasons: fear of change, distrust, the tough economy we find ourselves in now. One cause that I'd like to point to is reductionism. Too often we reduce our arguments down to component parts that together just don't do justice to the whole. Right now, the Regional Plan Update team is finalizing our alternatives for the Plan Update's environmental impact statement. We've met with hundreds of stakeholders in hundreds of meetings, and we have debated policy futures ad nauseum. Here's an example of a reductionist debate that saps inspiration. Why should TRPA promote waterborne transit when boats are such high polluters? The argument is that boats pollute so much on a pollution per person per mile basis that it would be less environmentally degrading to have 50 people drive halfway around the lake in individual Priuses than to have them all get into a ferry and ride from Tahoe City to South State Line together. Let me take a brief aside here. I once had a debate with my stepmother, a dedicated environmentalist like me, and a Toyota Prius enthusiast, in which I tried to convince her that she wouldn't be doing the environment any favors by buying a Prius and she should just buy a Camry. After all, Camry gets 30 miles a gallon, and with her driving habits, about 12,000 miles a year, it's only going to burn 400 gallons of gas. The Prius, which gets about 48 miles to the gallon, would burn 250 gallons of gas. About 150 gallons less. But the Prius has hundreds of pounds of battery packs in it, and lots of complicated electronics, some of which, by the way, may be contributing to safety issues we don't know. When a hybrid's life cycle is complete, disposal of all those batteries may take a lot of energy. Smelting the lead, neutralizing the acid, recycling the plastic, landfilling the electronic parts. Who knows what the real environmental footprint of a Prius is? Meanwhile, we all know what the environmental footprint of the Camry is. It's an extra 150 gallons of gas every year. And what, paradoxically, do we buy in a more environmentally friendly way than gas? We all buy it in bulk. We put it in our own reusable containers that we take with us where we go. If only buying milk was that efficient. But she kept leasing Priuses. And she actually won the argument. This is where I get back to you, Richard. Why did I cave in, you ask? One word: inspiration. My stepmom explained that she actually agreed with my environmental impact analysis. And she wasn't buying the Prius purely to get more MPG. She was doing it to send a message to the car companies that when they innovate, she gets inspired to buy. Her hope was that her buying would inspire the car companies in turn to innovate some more. So I come back at TRPA critics and say that in fact, the environmental analysis that claims that 50 Priuses are more efficient on a pollution per person per mile basis than some old diesel ferry carrying 50 passengers is incomplete. It doesn't take into account the environmental damage done by all the mining that it took to make the lead for the Prius batteries, or the energy it's going to take to someday recycle them, or the fine sediment created by all the Priuses driving on our roads. I could get even more reductionist and cite the diesel that it took to run the graders that performed the obligatory environmental remediation of the mine site that produced the ore that went into the Prius batteries, or the rubber in the huge graders' tires that invariably wears out. See, we can take environmental analysis as far as we want. The problem with such reductionist arguments is that whether you bring enough data to win the argument or not doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. The reason that the TRPA plan alternatives support waterborne transit is the same reason they support bike paths, and the same reason they support moving development off of sensitive lands into compact, safe, vibrant, walkable communities. It's the same reason my stepmom ended up leasing 3 Priuses in 9 years. Inspiration. You can't get people to innovate until they're inspired. Getting out of the car one day and riding the ferry across the lake, you may think thoughts you've never thought before. You may care for the lake in a way you never did before. It could inspire you to action you never thought you'd take before. If riding your bike from your house in Cave Rock to your work in State Line meant a bike trail through the woods, not what it means today, which is risking your life on a 10-inch shoulder going around a 50-mile-an-hour turn while jockeying with 4 lanes worth of traffic who are all vying for the same space, you might do it some beautiful summer morning. And in doing it, you may notice things you didn't notice when you were in your car. And it may change the way you think about nature, or how you feel about your neighbors, or the way your pants fit. I don't know. Land use and forestry policies alone won't set the Tahoe Basin on a more sustainable path. We receive 3 million visitors a year in Tahoe from all corners of the globe. And so it is essential to enroll the visitors in the restoration effort, give them better public transportation options, and things to do that inspire a connection with the land. Tahoe is indeed a world stage. Let's put on a better show. Our regional plan update will be the sustainability blueprint for Tahoe's future. We're working with all of our major basin agencies on a vision for a healthier, safer, more inspiring place, and we welcome your participation and support. Thank you.